We've given a brief for today for all of our presenters. This was the brief that we gave them. We said that we want to try and use contemporary learning skills. So it's all very well for someone like myself to stand here and to talk about these skills, but we wanted to actually embed them in the activities. So we've asked each of the presenters to be able to do that. But we felt that we needed a little bit of a smorgasbord at the start of the day in order to give you a taste of some of these areas, because you won't be able to spend time on all of the workshops and so on. So that's why we've got a Teach Meet happening a little bit in a minute. We also want to demonstrate practice. We want to demonstrate contemporary learning in the activities that you'll be involved in. And we also wanted to give you a chance to evaluate your own practice, to find things that you're currently doing and do more of those, the strengths that you've already got going, but to also be genuinely critical of the things that you need to do better, or that we need to do differently, or that we need to add, and what we need to jettison. Because it's all very well to say, let's put these things in, but it's important that we also reduce other things as well, in order to be able to cope with the busyness that we have in schools. So in order to get the most out of today, what I'd say is that you need to be solution focused. You need to be open to possibilities, to future. You need to be open to what could be. And that's why I asked that question. What could be if we were the best school in the world at this area? And it's a genuine question to ask. And at the end of the day, I'd like us to maybe reflect on where we are at and where we go to next, and to see what each of you as individuals could actually do. And we'll have that conversation at the end of the day. I'd like you to also welcome the opportunity to collaborate. This is the only time where we actually get together as a single staff from the college. It's a great opportunity. In addition to that, we've got some people from other places who asked to be able to be here. We've got some people from Beauty Point Public School that have joined us, so welcome to Beauty Point. And we're particularly also looking for them to be able to mix in with us and to collaborate with us, so that we can also, in some of your workshops, you'll have the opportunity to speak with people who are working at the primary level as well for students. And I think that we also need to be willing to try new things and to do things differently. If we have these three things as the focus, then certainly you'll get a lot out of today. You have an evaluation sheet. We really value your evaluations, because we respond to that in looking at what we do next and the way in which we deliver it. Your feedback over the last couple of years has certainly helped us to shape the nature of these days in the last couple of times that we put these together. So what I'd like to do is to leave you with a message, and this is it. We trust that you have, and I've made a misspelling there, but a really engaging day and are challenged by the possibilities. So it's a day in which you can really get your head into something new, something different, to be able to get some depth into that, but to also look at what you can do with it. Rather than just say, that was a great idea, I like that, I enjoyed that experience, but now, what are you going to do with it? And that's really the challenge that I'd like to leave you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Worsley. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part that we move into, which is our Teach Meet. For those of you who are unfamiliar, we're going to move into 10 5-minute, very punchy presentations that will hopefully stimulate your thinking, inspire you, and also give you a taster of the workshop and or the masterclass that you will be attending. So at this stage, I would like to invite Louka to the stage. He's come to us from Victoria with Maddie Scott from Education Changemakers. Please welcome him to the stage.
Hi team, great to be here. Okay, so we'll start with this concept. You know, it's a fantastic day. You're going to hear from a great range of speakers today. But this concept of innovation and imagination. And I think this is a lovely sentiment to start us on. Imagination is the uniquely human capacity to envisage that which is not, and therefore is the foundation of all invention and innovation. Innovation. It's thrown around now like it's going out of fashion. It has absolutely reached buzzword status, I think it's fair to say. But this is a word that is actually 500 years old. It comes from the Latin, like most. Innovators, this idea of renewal, to renew. But to innovate, you have to be adding something new. It really is born from creativity. This really interesting concept that, what are you renewing? What are you adding that hasn't been there before? This is Ross, and I want to introduce you to him. Ross is a lawyer. Doesn't look like it, but Ross got his first job in May this year with a US law firm. Ross is an artificial intelligence lawyer. And what Ross does is research through precedent and legal findings in seconds, instead of the hours that it takes a paralegal or a lawyer to do exactly that same task. Neil's put it really well. 1 in 2 jobs are in danger, significant danger of being replaced by automation in the next 20 years. So we have some significant challenges here in a world that is rapidly shifting. So no discussion about 21st century learning can be complete without the stereotypical, traditional way of learning. But it's true, and I think Seth Godin, for those of you that have read him, he's brilliant, has a great sentiment here, is that universal education was a deliberate attempt to transform our culture. And it worked. We trained millions of factory workers. So what happens when the factory model no longer applies? And in a place like Australia, it really doesn't. The current debate about manufacturing is that case in point. So the future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed. So we have a great opportunity here in Australia to really lead into this creative economy, the post-industrial world, away from the industrial model and the knowledge model. So, Pablo Picasso, brilliant sentiment here. Every child is an artist. The problem is staying an artist when you grow up. And of course, a lot of that is schooling. Mark Twain said, "I never let schooling get in the way of my education." A really interesting comment. Does everyone know who this is? Fantastic. This is Marie Curie. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. She's also one of only 2 people in the world in history to have won 2 of them. So she was incredibly curious and a brilliant creative mind. She said this: "Be less curious about people and more curious about ideas." Because it's from those ideas that we can move in through that process of creativity and collaboration into innovation. Anybody? Alan Turing. So, Alan, an incredible mind in artificial intelligence and logarithmic and algorithmic thinking, helped to crack the Enigma code with his team in Britain. Because of that innovation, because of the creativity that team brought to that important work, hundreds of thousands of lives were saved because the war ended early. So this is important work. And he said, those who can imagine anything can create the impossible. Ultimately, all good ideas have to have a creative basis. They absolutely do. And this comes down to you. Here we stand in the northern beaches of Sydney, beautiful part of the world, and we have a great opportunity for you as teachers to use your unique creativity through the science of teaching, yes, but also through the art of teaching, to create spaces and experiences that students love, that enables them to be creative. But we know 1 + 1 does not equal 2, at least not always. There is the ability here where the sum of the parts of a whole, it can be larger than that, it can be exponential. So, this idea of collaboration is absolutely important. So, it's fair to say, I've talked a lot about the why, but at Education Changemakers, Maddie and I, we don't spend a lot of time doing it. We think there are some we think the compelling case for change has been made by Neil, by others, by Sir Ken Robinson, by Pasi Sahlberg, by a whole range of thought leaders. What's really important here is the what and the how. Because as teachers and school leaders, that's the hard stuff. How do we take these big picture ideas and actually do it in our classrooms? What does that look like on a Thursday afternoon, double block of maths, really tough going? How can we create these spaces? And that's what Maddie and I are going to spend some time with those of you that we're meeting a bit later today, going through, is how can we innovate as educators and drive these ideas so that we can prepare young people not just for the future, this idea of preparing for the 21st century, but actually enable them to create a better future. Thanks very much.